What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan Sharpe, and welcome to the 782nd edition of TSR Live. Your daily dose of toxic masculinity. Looks like Terrence Pop is a little crooked back there. Guess I gotta fix that. We are live in this bitch. It is Monday, September 20th of 2021. It is good to have you guys in today. We are streaming, as always, live to Facebook, mgtow.tv, manosphere.tv, YouTube, Twitch, and of course, and crystal clear high-resolution 4K to Sharpe stream. This community's only independently owned and run platform, meaning it is impossible to cancel. Did you hear that, feminists? Haters? So however you're watching, wherever you're watching from, thank you for making the Sharpe Reality Live a part of your daily routine. Shout out to the snipers. The snipers on the top of TSR Towers. We've got Dre Raven, Hellfong, Arpap, Pale Tiger, Andre J, and Kronos Absolution. Good stuff, man. Got a lot of you guys in here. Shout out to my sharpshooters on the YouTube side. King of Life, can't believe his luck. He is first. Good to see you in here. River Bacon. Dre Raven double dipping. Street Fighter 88, congratulations to you, my friend, with the promotion. Drinks on Street Fighter 88 with that new promotion and bonus money. All jokes aside, congratulations, man. We like to celebrate each other's accomplishments and success. C-Dub is also in the house. Chris Johnson says, dose of this medicine as I fix this dang Honda Civic. Oh, boy. Unmodified EG bubble for my NYC racers. Okay. All right. Good stuff, man. Lou Will, 59, is also in the house. I'm on a little late today because I fucked around and took the wrong strain of kratom. I took a slow kratom. A slow kratom means it relaxes you and puts you to sleep, really. So, took it with my morning coffee. Everything is good. Right around 11:30, I start to get a little bit drowsy, and I'm like, uh-oh. I think I took the wrong strain of kratom, so I took a nap, slept it off. I'm still a little bit groggy, still a little bit but we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work because I've got a great show in store for you guys today. Kevin Samuels was in rare form. I actually talked to him about a half an hour ago. It was actually a really good conversation. Teddy KGB, $5. The $5 super chat says, read your 49 laws this weekend gold. You better believe it. You better believe it, man. Yeah. I'm actually going to be releasing the video version of the 49 Laws of Sharpe here very shortly. I've got to get a few things in place before I get my guy to start on that project for me, but that should be coming up. That should be released here fairly soon. I'm looking forward, very, very much looking forward to that. Street Fighter 88 says, you got knocked the fuck out. Yeah, man. Like, holy God. I think I probably took a 2-hour nap. As you guys can see, I'm still a little groggy. But like I said, we're going to make it work. We are going to make it work. So Kevin did a live stream yesterday. And he normally doesn't do live streams on weekends. However, every once in a while, he'll get an idea, and he will know that this calls for a weekend show. Damien Hanma says, is Caitlin in there? Not really sure what you're referring to. It's a little weird. Anyway. I'm only going to break down one of his one of his interviews. And one of his interviews with regards to this particular sector, it was actually apropos. It was actually apropos. The guy was talking about the fact that there needs to be change in the church, but then when Kevin quizzed him on, all right, well, what are you going to do? That took the conversation in another direction, and I think that conversation is directly correlated, maybe not directly correlated, but it most certainly, how can I put? It most certainly ties in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to see that a little bit later on. But we are going to start with his opening monologue. And listen, man, Kevin's opening monologues are getting better and better and better. This one regarding the church, specifically the Black Christian church, this opening monologue was way too good not to break down. So let's not waste any time here. Let's go ahead and get started. Here we go.
I'm going to ask you guys to just listen before you render judgment. And I want you to understand, when I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about all churches, but in general, I'm talking about the Christian Black church in particular. And here's the thing. Black people by nature are highly religious people, but tonight we're going to talk about if the modern Black church wants to reclaim Black men, how are some possible ways to do it? Now, I'm not going to say this is the only way.
Okay, so let me stop it right here and talk about what he just said. Actually, I'll just go ahead and rewind it. I just want you guys to listen to this.
We're going to talk about if the modern Black church wants to reclaim Black men, Black church. And here's the thing.
All right.
Black people by nature are highly religious people, but tonight,
Black people by nature are highly religious people. highly, highly, highly religious people. Over the years, and I've discussed this before, I'm not the most overly religious person. And it's probably a realization that I've come to, I don't know, probably since I lived in Atlanta for the second time. Right? So I'll make this as short as possible, but I'll tie it to what Kevin is talking about here. As far as I'm concerned, pardon me, the basis of most religious groups are all pretty much the same, right? Exercising some sort of self-discipline by not indulging in life's many tempting vices, treating others with decency, and, I don't know, regularly executing or carrying out some sort of ritual at a specific day and or time. Sure, there are many more layers to every religion, but by and large, those seem to be the main building blocks. Devin and I, when we first started talking, we had that conversation, And when she said that to me, she says, listen, man, the basis of most religions is just be good to people. And I agree. And the truth is that human beings by nature, we have an inherent need to belong. No matter the person, the upbringing, the environment, we all want to be a part of something. Okay, we without human interaction, we go insane. Right? Even people who describe themselves as loners, they have a circle of friends, albeit very small, but they have a small circle of friends they trust and can confide in. From young men who join gangs to post-wall 304s to people who join cults or religion in this context, that's a way for people to fulfill their basic need for routine, structure, temperance. And think about this. I want you guys to think about this. Think about this. The worst thing that can happen to a man in prison, really, other than being EPAR'd, is being put in solitary confinement. He's surrounded by murderers, EPARists, but being put in the hole for a month, that is a terrible fate. because he's left by himself for an extended period of time. Religion represents going back to the general population for most people. And think about it. Sports, hobbies, websites, on some level, are described as religion. People say all the time, I do XYZ religiously, when describing something they do on the regular. But regardless of what we call it, anything we do or believe consistently could be loosely described as a religion. Now, with regards to what Kevin said, for my money, and this is me coming, this is strictly bias. I don't know this for a fact. But based on my personal experiences, Christianity seems to be the branch of religion that has soured the most people on the very existence of God. And again, I'll be the first to point out, guys, I could be way off in this assessment. And, listen, my upbringing in the Baptist church and being an American, that drastically skews my point of view. But I'm fairly certain I'm not the only person who feels this way. And truthfully, man, honestly, I could write a 3-part column on how Christians have royally fucked things up for people who could really benefit from religion. But instead, I'll talk about the major factors involved with making Christianity and its followers these days borderline unbearable, just like Kevin was talking about. Anyone who grew up, and I don't want to make this a long sermon, no pun intended, but stay with me here, because this ties directly into what Kevin's going to be talking about here. Anyone who grew up in the church remembers the collection plate being passed from row to row to ushers, or by ushers, right? We remember person after person, putting in cash, checks, envelopes, right? The plate makes its way through the congregation. It wasn't long before we asked our parents, well, what's that money for? And they dutifully explained to us that the church is supported by its members' contributions, and that's why they pass the collection plate around every Sunday. Things could not be any more different here in 2021, guys. The mega churches popping up every week don't even look like churches anymore. And Kevin will talk about this here very shortly. On the inside and the outside, they resemble really something of a cross between, like a warehouse, a nightclub, and a mall. Churches like these cost money, and a lot of it. They've got the jumbotrons, the flat screen TVs, the state-of-the-art tech as the backdrop. Honestly, these churches really seem more intent on entertainment than the teachings of Christianity. Now, these days, they also reek of SJW tendencies. What with their no judgment here, right, or non-denominational marketing campaigns to cast as wide a net as humanly possible to ensnare as many members as they can. The more members you have, the higher your revenue. Yes, churches need support from its congregation, and yes, they have to get the word out somehow. Fair enough. But when you're bombarded with billboards and flyers and television commercials, then see the pastor driving a 6-figure vehicle and living in a 7-figure home, it becomes fairly clear that Christianity is more of an industry than a religion these days, and that is what rubs people the wrong way. Another element that has really rubbed people the wrong way is God has a plan. Stop me if you've heard this before. God has a plan for you. Or if it's God's will, it will happen. Or my favorite, the Lord works in mysterious ways, right? Post-awakening, what I have figured out is that Christians and its congregation, its purveyors, they often use this kind of rhetoric to explain away terrible or unfavorable events. One could say that people need to believe that there is a higher power out there that makes things happen. But the man in me, the common sense in me, knows that if I show up to an interview in casual clothes, I'm probably not going to get that job, right? The mindset that I have knows that if I'm drunk off my ass and I get behind the wheel of my vehicle and I wrap my car around a telephone pole, or worse, kill somebody, that has nothing to do with God's will. That's my responsibility and mine alone. Back in the day, the one thing I noticed that all atheist people who believe there is no God seem to have in common, and I'll get back to the video, but I'm going to tie this all around. Just stay with me here. What they seemed to have in common was anger, right? They were angry that God had allowed their loved ones to die, or that God had allowed their husband to be stricken by cancer, or that God had allowed bad things to happen to them. And a lot of them may even have been Christians at some point or another. My guess is that during their hard times, their Christian friends reached out to them to try to console them, and good for their friends for doing so. Where their friends went wrong is that they probably used the God's will to explain the untimely deaths of their loved ones. It's only a matter of time before someone going through that kind of turmoil enters the anger phase. And because the people around them told them that God had indirectly caused their pain, they check out. Now, the counter argument there is that just because a person is angry and decides they don't believe that there's a God doesn't necessarily mean that there is no God. I say this all the time when yelling atheist on television. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true. But the bottom line here is that every person has control over their own lives, guys. I'm not saying I'm not saying that this means that there is a God or that there isn't. What I am saying is that if a person is successful, it's mainly because of their own efforts and know-how. If a person is or was ever homeless, it is largely because of a series of bad decisions. Guys, I have talked and written about my... This better be a fucking emergency. Leave it out there. Can't be mad at Dev. Can't be mad at Dev. So Devin noticed that I'm almost out of water. She noticed that I'm almost out of water, and she brought me a water. I mean, listen, man, we all want someone who's as dutiful as that. Sometimes it can wrongly piss us off. So my bad on that. See, that's where my anyway. You guys know that I have talked and written ad nauseum about my own series of bad decisions that led to my quasi sort of homelessness, but I had nobody to blame but myself, guys. Not God, not anyone. It was me. I chased after a 19, 20-year-old single mother with a 6, 7-year-old kid. It was a trip. You guys know the story. When a man looks at his life through masculine spectacles, the plan and will argument, that's hamstring. Right? When someone tells you that a good or a bad event that happened in your or someone else's life has more to do with the actions or desires of someone or something other than your own, that is eerily similar to a female blaming her bad decisions on making, on the 4 tequila shots she did the night before, right? Now, there are a shitload of other issues that gives Christianity a bad name worldwide, right? From Christians themselves who are in the club Saturday night, then in the front row at church Sunday morning, which Kevin will talk about here shortly, to the conflicting versions of the Bible, right? Different denominations, they used to, they kind of pick and choose what they want to abide by. Christianity is looked down upon by a lot of people for many reasons. As far as I'm concerned, and this is me, this is just Donovan Sharpe. As far as I'm concerned, the priority of the exorbitant profits trumping the importance of their message and the epic hamstring involved in and out of the pews, those are the two biggest reasons, as far as I'm concerned, that Christianity has a bad name. Now, in closing, before we get to this, there are a few staples of Christianity that I seem to call into question, right? So, over the years, I've kind of started to think of things in a common sense kind of way, right? I've begun to sort of call into question these so-called strongholds of Christianity, right? Things that I've been taught as absolute truths when I was a child now make a lot less sense because I'm older and experienced, right? So the first one is, does prayer really change things? Think about that. Am I not in complete control of my life? Is being disciplined and steadfast in my daily regimens, is that useless if I have the power of prayer on my side? If I pray, then work hard and become successful, what percentage of the credit goes to prayer or the work, right? Another thing I've thought about is, how do we know what or how God thinks? Everyone seems to think they know how God thinks and the reasons he thinks them. How do we know God is loving and kind? How do we know God even wants us here, right? How the hell do we really know why God does what he does simply because we can refer to a 2,000-year-old book we like to call the Bible? Here's another one. The virgin birth. Would we believe in a virgin birth here in 2021? Think about it this way. Just think about it this way, guys. In 2021, if a woman in the Middle East gave birth and claimed to be a virgin, would we really believe it? Would she be opposed to a DNA test to reveal who the suspected father really was? Right? Would an examination of the pre-birth reveal an intact hymen? And even if it did, would we believe it? Here's another one. Did Gabriel really come down and physically talk to Mary? Did Mary and Gabriel really have a conversation, or was Mary hallucinating? Or worse, did she make the whole thing up? I mean, after all, back then it was impossible to become pregnant without having sex. Here's another one. Was Jesus Christ really the Son of God? Like, speaking of the DNA test, what would that test reveal? Would the Father's DNA be otherworldly or alien? Or would it reveal the DNA of a male human? Right? Do we really believe that the Red Sea literally parted for Moses? Like, how feasible is it? Just think about this. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody's religion or anything like that. I just want to think about this critically before we get to this Kevin Samuels video, because I think it's worth examining through this lens before we get to what Kevin's going to talk to. How feasible is it that an old man climbed to the top of a mountain, stayed there for over a month, 40 days and 40 nights, to wait for God to etch the 10 Commandments into stone? And how exactly did God do that? Did he work in mysterious ways? Right? Do we really believe that a man got swallowed by a whale and survived long enough to get spit back out? We all know the story about Jonah and the whale, right? But how likely is it that a man got swallowed by a whale or a big fish? How likely is it that he would survive, let alone get spit back out? And why would the whale even do that? What, is the whale bulimic? Right? Do we really believe that Jesus literally walked on water? I mean, think about it. Think about it. People claiming a man walked on a water surface and didn't sink in. Would that fly here in 2021? Again, guys, I'm not saying these things didn't happen. Okay? And I want you guys to understand, I'm not trying to insult anybody's religion or anything like that. Believe what you want to believe. That's fine. But based on what I've learned and experienced, to me, it is highly unlikely. If the science and technology available to us today were available to us back then, I'm fairly certain these stories would have been debunked pretty quickly. And that's if the stories got out in the first place. So, now a lot of people would say, well, Donovan, are you saying you're an atheist? I don't know. I don't know, man. I have no idea. Listen, when I apply the same sensibilities, knowledge, and experience of my 44 years of life, I know that at some point up the chain of creation, there is an uncaused cause. Let me say that again. I know that there has to be, at some point up the chain of creation, there is an uncaused cause. Okay? I believe that to be a deity that we call God, Allah, or whatever the name we attach. But at this point in my life, I'm not nearly as certain the God that I've been taught about by Christianity exists. I believe that there is a God, maybe, but not the God that I've grown up believing in. If a strip club burns to the ground, I don't believe God rained down, fire to punish the heathen sinners. My guess is either arson or somebody probably flicked a cigarette in the wrong place. If someone's successful, I don't use the word blessed anymore. I use the word fortunate and hardworking. If someone has a run of bad luck, shit happens. Bad decision making, that's all there is to it. At the end of the day, guys, before we get into this video, I'm willing to admit that religion certainly has its advantages, right? Right? I mean, seriously. Like, we've pointed out countless doctrines from back in the day that kept women in line. Listen, like it or not, Muslims, they got their bitches in check. Their females rarely get out of pocket thanks to the Quran. But even the most devout Catholics, Muslim, Buddhists, Christians, etc., would have to admit the one thing that nobody has really ever discussed. They can't all be right. Right? Like, the Southern Baptist minister in Lexington, Kentucky, can be every bit as devout as the Hindu priest in Mumbai, India. But they both can't be right. So who knows, man? Hopefully in the coming years, I can gain a little more clarity in terms of what I believe or what I don't. For now, I'm going to keep living my life and let the chips fall where they may. All right, let me read these super chats, then we'll continue with the video. Invocator, $3, says the last episode of Elite Level Game was pure fire. Appreciate that. Today KJB, another $5 super chat, says, as an atheist, I know more about the Bible than most Christians. Yeah, that's... You're probably right. Andrew Stringfield, welcome to Chat Privilege. Wait a minute. Hold on. Welcome to Chat Privileges. At Andrew Stringfield, to welcome him to the family again. Appreciate that. Teddy KGB, $2, says, is the whale bulimic? Yeah, no, I don't know. I wasn't trying to be funny, but who knows? Devin in the chat says, God willed me to bring Donovan water. Now there we go. See things like that. When things like that happen, that tells me there is a God. Let me look at the Sharpe stream side. Wow, you guys are bringing it on the Sharpe stream, guys. Sharpe stream side. Jory Raven says, LOL, would it be the Caitlin who apparently posted her phone number in IG asking for someone to call her and keep her amused during a long car trip that got upset? I don't know anything about that. RPAP says, is Caitlin the redhead that flirts with Donovan that Devin doesn't like?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yes, Devin's right. She does flirt with pretty much everyone. Male or female. But, hey, shout out to the lovely and talented Caitlin. She has made me a shitload of money over the years, so not mad at her. Okay, let us continue with the breakdown.
Tonight we're going to talk about if the modern black church wants to reclaim black men, how are some possible ways to do it? Now, I'm not going to say this is the only way.
Wow, that's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question. I wrote an article a long time ago on negromanosphere.com. If somebody could find that and post that, Devin, find that article I wrote for Negromanosphere, why black men have become disenfranchised by the church. This is a very interesting question. How does the black church reclaim the black man?
But what I am going to say is it's something that I put a lot of thought into, a lot of discussion with other men.
Yes, Kevin and I have talked about this extensively.
And we're going to go over some of the things that over the last 20 years.
By the way, Kevin is left-handed. Kevin's left-handed. Listen, this is random and has nothing to do with anything, but Kevin is a lefty. I'm a lefty. Kevin's a lefty. Myron Gaines is also left-handed. That you can't make this stuff up.
We've seen become problematic. Half of Americans are now church members, and that's down from
half of Americans are all church members.
70% at the turn of the century in 1999.
Okay, so 7 out of 10 people in the United States were church members at the turn of the century in 1999. Guess what? Myself included, guys. I was 23 years old. I was attending a church in High Point, North Carolina, called His Family Church. It later became Victorious Life Church because Pastor Mike Stewart had affairs with at least 7 wives in the congregation. Boy, that was messy. But that to me is incredible. So just like that, 20%. So the church's congregation, or the numbers, have fallen by 20%.
Most of the decline is attributable to the increase in the percentage of people claiming no religion.
Membership claiming no religion. That's the non-denominational spin that I talked about. Apparently, according to Janik, all lefties are commies.
Has fallen 9 points amongst those who are religious.
Definite G says, I'm cross-dominant, a.k.a. mix-handed. The only thing I do well right-handed now is bowl. I suck doing everything else right-handed.
Bottom line is this. That's just in the country in general, but in the black church, it's become even more steep. Why is that? Why is that? Well, as somebody who grew up in the church, as somebody who actually grew up in the church.
And again, just to give you guys a point of reference, I grew up in the Baptist church. No matter where we were. I don't remember the name of the church when we lived in New Jersey, but I remember the name of the church when we lived in Washington. It was Lakewood Baptist Temple in Lakewood, Washington. We lived in Steilacoom. When we lived in Hawaii, both times we were a part of Lanakila Baptist Church. Then when we moved to Oklahoma, we were at First Baptist Church of Altus. And then I think that's the last time. Well, then I never went to Baptist Church in North Carolina. Then I converted to Catholicism and went to St. Joseph's in Raleigh. And that's the last time I've ever been in a church. So there's my religious resume.
A significant amount of time in church. At one time, I was over singles ministries at different church. On any given week, you used to come find me on Sunday service at my Sunday service, and working after hours in the homeless outreach ministry. On Monday, men's ministry. On Tuesday, if they had singles ministry. Wednesday, Bible study.
Dre Raven says, God helps those who helps themselves. Churches don't seem to like that one very much. Of course not.
Thursday mentorship. There was a time when I was only out of the church, maybe Friday and Saturday night. And that's if you're not married, have kids doing the church lock-ins and things like that. Let's be honest, man. Right out of slavery.
I'll tell you this. If there is a God, I'm going to hell. I'm just going to be honest with you. If I'm in it, dude, if there really is a God, if God really is the deity that Christians have explained, I'm definitely going to hell. Like I'm going to the seventh circle of hell. Yeah.
The modern black church played a large role in the black community. It was a central focal point in the United States for communities of all kinds. It was the place to where we all went and gathered, fellowship. It was the center of town. And most things, if you wanted to start a town, you needed a pastor or a preacher.
There you go. So pastors and preachers, really, they were the community leaders, right? But for some reason, well, not really for some reason, but again, egos get the better of people. They start to see the bottom line, pun definitely intended. They see the money that can be made, and, well, at some point, they become corrupt.
Now, fast forward to a city where we leave towns and communities, move into big cities, blah, blah, blah. What have we seen the rise of in the last 30 years? The last 30 years, we've seen the rise of the megachurch.
Yes, sir. I talked about that in my, I guess, unplanned opening monologue. Megachurches have really, listen, megachurches have turned a lot of people on, but it's turned a lot of people off. It really has.
Okay. Got necessarily no real problem with that outside of the fact that the community aspect in an organization that large becomes missing. Yeah, you may be able to go get a good word on Sunday, but being attached to a body, much more difficult when you have 10,000 people in the sermon, in the service.
10,000. Can you imagine 10,000 people in the service? And I've heard numbers in terms of the percentage of the congregation that actually tithes. And I don't know, I'm probably way up, but I've heard 25%. I've heard some churches are as high as 70%. That's a lot of money. And because it's a religious place, no taxes. Guys, at this point, as far as the United States is concerned with Christianity, Christianity is no longer a religion. It's an industry. That's what it is. Sad but true.
The rise of non-denominational churches. The rise of prosperity preaching. And all of these things are structural. They're not going to change. But one of the things that I will say we have noticed is with all of these things, we have seen a steady decline of single men marching out of the church.
There you go. There you go, man. There it is. Now, these churches continue to be profitable. But it's not because of the money generated by the men in the church, because men are leaving the church in droves.
Two places are leaking men: colleges and universities and churches. We don't talk about the church.
Yeah, colleges and universities are leaking men because men don't want to be falsely accused of EPAR. That's really all there is to it.
The black church in particular. And in my personal opinion, I don't know when the last time you went to church, but church is different today than it was.
Oh, yes.
When I was coming up.
Wow, Dev says there is one in South Florida that sprung up that is bigger than a major university campus and has a country club, golf course, daycare, school, Starbucks, and stores. Damn. Where's that at? Utah? Oh, no, she said South Florida. Never mind. I was thinking that was like a Mormon community.
There was no way you could have a woman.
Grizzly Rising says the modern church doesn't cater to single men. The modern church shames single men. Real talk.
Sitting on the front row, proud.
Listen to this. I want you to listen to this.
There was no way you could have a woman sitting on the front row, proudly playing her tambourine and getting happy. 3 kids out of wedlock, 4 different dudes.
Yo, that's a problem. That's a problem, man. We don't slut shame anymore, guys. That's what it comes down to. Slut shaming is not politically correct. It's not. And to be honest with you, even back in the day, the people that did the most slut shaming were women. RPAP on the Sharpe Stream side says, I remember a pastor that said he believes God judges people on who they are and what they did and not how well they knew him. Because think of the Native Americans, how many millions of them came and went before the Pilgrims came and stole their stuff. Hard to think God would send all of them to hell simply because the missionaries had yet to set up shop there. Exactly. Exactly.
It's not to just jump on single mothers, but there was a time where there was still some structure.
Yeah, slut shaming.
So when the church started saying, no dress code, everybody's welcome.
No dress code. No dress code. That's why we got women in the church looking like hoes. That's what that is. Let me go grab my water real quick. Shout out to Dev for that. Appreciate that.
What'd you start losing? You start losing a lot of men. Because like it or not, shout out to Dame, like it or not, men like and require things to be structured.
You know it.
The church, for all intents and purposes, has lost its way amongst men.
That's right.
Men are tired. Men will tell you men will tell you that, especially in terms of relationships, many men feel like the church does not help, because far too often, many men in church will complain about having their woman, their wife, their girlfriend, their significant other quoting their pastor in his home.
Now, gentlemen, I'm all for people seeking out structure. I'm all for people exercising their right to religion. I'm all for people trying to better themselves through religion. But I'll be damned if a chick I'm dating, fucking with, whatever the case may be, quotes some shit that another man said in my goddamn house. Nah, it ain't going down like that. You want to quote Pastor Williams? Bet. Go live with Pastor Williams. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody's religion. Certainly not trying to do that. But at the end of the day, I'm the king of my goddamn castle. And what women these days do, they deify the pastors. Women these days deify the pastors more than they deify God. When they say thank you, Jesus, and praise God, what a lot of them are really thinking, thank you, Pastor Williams. Praise Pastor Williams. Right? Because the pastor is a vessel. Remember talking about vessels? You are but a vessel. You are a spiritual vessel. All that horse shit. But the pastor has somehow been ordained by God to be his mouthpiece. Women have too much common sense. They have too much common sense to actually believe that to be true. Nope. They use the pastor's, quoting the pastor in another man's house as a reason not to stay in pocket. Well, Pastor such and such says that as a man you need to do such and such. Oh, for real? Yep. Word. Cool. Pack your bags and go out and live with Pastor such and such. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to have you. Fuck out of here with that.
As a way to keep a man in line.
Boom. There it is.
So tonight we're going to talk about it. Because with the decline in men, what are you also seeing a rise in? Well, if you lose men, you lose a lot of your, you lose a large portion of tithes and offerings.
That's right.
So you got to get an ever increasing share from who's remaining, and that's women. And there is no surprise for the increasing share of tithes and offerings for operational expenses must come from a decreasing, from a decreasing male population and increasing female population. What do you think you're going to start hearing? Much more of this God, you can do bad all by yourself, prosperity, preaching Christian light stuff.
How often do preachers in Atlanta specifically, how often do they quote Tyler Perry? I wonder how often they quote Tyler Perry.
To where the church is darn near the world in a lot of men's minds. Because they're like, now wait a minute. So you can come to church dressed like you were dressed last night, wearing the long, different color fingernails, the long, different color hair, tight dress, this, such and so forth, tatted up, blah, blah, blah.
She belongs to the streets.
Well, men understand why that happened, because you got to keep the women happy.
That's right.
When was the last time you went to church and you heard anything about sin?
I'll wait. That's a good question.
You know, growing up in the Baptist church, or even Church of God in Christ, they were not timid about going back to the Old Testament. Fire and brimstone, Revelations.
Yes, sir.
I would tell you that going into church these days, it's pretty much like Jesus, God is cosmic Santa Claus, there to grant you your wishes.
That's right.
As long as you keep the faith.
There it is.
And men,
see that? Cosmic Santa Claus. They don't think of God as God. They think of him as a magician.
They're just not as easily swayed. Why? Because
Lord Sinister says, hell, they had women doing lap dances at a funeral? Oh, my God. Please tell me you're lying.
The modern church has forgot about men.
Yep.
The message the modern church is preaching does not resonate with men today.
Nope.
Far too often, if you ask guys, that the modern church today stands to further the desires and ambitions of the pastor.
Oh, 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 oh. Let's listen to that again.
The desires and ambitions of the pastor. A few key men around the church, and is dedicated to married couples,
Right.
women, and children. That's what a lot of guys will say. Go back in the comment section on YouTube or on Instagram. Men feel left out, and women
That's because men are left out. Men are left out.
are being told that there is nothing wrong with anything. Whatever you got, gotta work it out.
Shit. You go work it out. You got a bad life, Bill. Do it. You go work it out. Y'all remember that track? You go work it out.
So let's go over some things that. And here's why is this important? Because if you're running a church, if you could be the first church to actually win the men back, your bottom line would be greatly enhanced.
And there it is. See, Kevin is talking about this not only from a practical standpoint, but from also a business standpoint. Listen, the church needs the support of its parishioners to survive. That's always the way it's been. That's always the way it will be. But the church is now really more of a product than anything else.
Among other things, and for people who don't think church is a business, you better get out of here. Church is a business.
Yeah, this person who donated this 2.79 super chat, fuck out of here with that. Don't come in here. Do not come in here. Don't come in here with that nonsense. It's fucking ridiculous. I absolutely positively will not allow anyone to come in here and troll anybody with their screen name. If you really want your 2.79 Canadian dollars back, Devin at DonovanSharpe.com. I'll get it back to you immediately. Fuck that noise. Miss me with that bullshit.
If you don't think church is a business, you are tripping.
That's right.
And one of the ways to where you're going to start wooing men back to church is, Pastor, you must share power.
Ooh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
My nigga.
You better watch out. I know Kevin just didn't go there on him.
If you're not willing to share the power, we don't even have to have the conversation.
Nope.
That's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take, guys. You got one man in charge of all of these finances. Your wife wants to fuck him. His girlfriend wants to fuck him, and he has control over everything. No. The church is going to have to cede power.
Most men will tell you that the church has become a cult of personality, all about the ego of one person. And if you will sit down and talk to many pastors, I have gone at it with some pastors who I'm like, you ain't nobody but a man.
Real talk.
You just a man just like me. You went.
Yeah, this is when Creflo Dollar. Shout out to Creflo Dollar, man. I heard of him. I'd heard of him when I lived in Atlanta. And I mean, listen, like, he can't control what his last name is, right? Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Right. But like a name like Dollar, I don't know. Listen, that's his name. It is what it is.
To seminary, some of y'all went to seminary, but so what? But the micromanagement of the typical pastor today runs the competent men out.
That's right.
Most pastors cannot stand to have strong, competent men in places of power and leadership around the modern church.
That's right. And the reason why is because strong, competent men will then challenge the authority. And don't nobody want to be a part of that. Because if you try to challenge the authority in a church, you are essentially cast out. smitten or whatever, or smited. Well, not smited. Yes, Creflo Dollar is his real name. His name is Creflo Dollar. That's his real name. It's a family name. I think it's hilarious that his last name is Dollar. It's just, it is what it is. But yeah, Creflo Dollar, Eddie Long. Eddie Long has been passed away, I think, for a few years. But yeah, man, like guys like this, guys like Creflo Dollar, Eddie Long, those guys are celebrities in Atlanta. Those guys are bigger than the president.
Church because it challenges their authority.
There it is.
That means
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna sit that right there. That means if you want men to come back, you're going to have to willingly share power. That means you're going to have to turn resources in the church to men.
Do you see pastors doing that? Allocating resources towards men? Do you really see them doing that? Dev, make sure you get some of that Mio Sport. I see you doing the grocery order. Make sure you get some of that purple Mio Sport. Appreciate that.
The men's ministry needs to grow. The boys' ministry needs to grow.
Yep.
And the singles ministry needs to grow.
There you go. There you go. And these pastors, these male pastors they're not stupid. They know it's far easier to control the hearts and minds of women than it is to control the hearts and minds of strong, competent men.
Take money away from the women's side to go on an active media campaign to target men, to bring men back into the church.
There you go.
And how do you do that? One, you got to be willing to share power. Two, less prosperity, more accountability.
Less prosperity, more accountability. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No, the fuck you didn't.
Oh, yes, he did.
Less prosperity, more accountability, because this overly reliance on the prosperity, and God wants you to live your best life and this and that, and
God wants you to live your best life. So these preachers are making money hand over fist by telling these women exactly what they want to hear, not holding them accountable. This is why Derek Jackson is rich. Derek Jackson has become a millionaire telling women what they want to hear. You can be overweight, single moms for grown men only. He should love you as you are. How many people, I wonder how many successful relationships have come from Derek Jackson's teaching. Yeah, that's what I thought. Kind of what I thought.
it's all going to be all right. If we have seen on my channel that far too often that
Street Fighter 88 with the comment of the day says, if you control an organization's men, you seize control over the organization. That's exactly right. If you control or eliminate the men, you control the organization. That's the way they used to do it way, way back in the day. When they used to take over a city or a town, the first thing they do, they kill all the men, they kill all of the men and the young men. They kill all the men. Oh, thank you. They kill all the men. They kill all of the, they get rid of all the teenagers. Hell, they probably even get rid of some of the 8 and 9-year-olds. They probably only take toddlers and down. Because with the men out of the way, they have full control of the organization. The church has quite literally neutered itself.
when you leave that little gray area, when you're in this soft coddling language, people can tend to stay exactly where they are, comfortable, and it's not helping.
There you go. That's that lack of accountability.
And the only way you're going to get back to preaching a balanced gospel, a balanced anything, is you're going to have some consequences.
But that's the thing, Kevin. Women don't like being told that there are consequences. Kevin sees this he sees and hears this every night. Women do not like hearing that there are consequences to their actions. They do not listen. Women don't handle rejection well. We all know that. We all know that. Something they handle even more poorly is listening to the consequences of their actions. The reason why you are here is because you did that. The reason you don't have a man is because you are overweight. They don't like hearing that. The reason you are overweight is because you are lazy. They don't like hearing that. The reason you are single is because you are not a wife. Don't like hearing that. The reason your ex-boyfriend now dates a white girl is because you have an attitude, you don't hold yourself accountable, and you got 3 kids. Women do not like hearing that there are consequences to their actions. They do not like it.
When's the last time you heard a pastor preach upon chastity?
I'll wait. No, man, we got preachers talking about hot girl summer now.
When was the last time you saw a pastor preach on weight?
I'll wait. No pun intended. Pastors will never, ever, ever tell black women, get your fat ass in the gym. Quit going to Bojangles and Church's Chicken after the service. Start watching what you eat. You want a man, you want a husband, lose the weight. Period. Stephen White says men need to start holding women accountable more often. I was guilty in the past myself. Real talk, so was I. So was everybody, man. I'm with you, Stephen. I was 100% just like you, friend. Real talk.
Beauty. Health.
Oh, they do talk beauty, Kevin. But, you see, Pastor Dollar says that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and that Kevin Samuels is the Antichrist. For real? Creflo? What's his wife, Taffy? What's she look like? Yes, Creflo Dollar's wife's name is Taffy. If that ain't some country ass shit, I do not know what is. Don't give a fuck who hears that. I said it. Taffy. You fucking kidding me? Taffy Dollar. Sounds like a candy stand at the carnival.
Anti-slut culture. Anti-thought culture.
Uh-oh.
When was the last time you saw the church mothers go bring out a bed sheet or a towel and put it over these girls' knees?
I'll wait. We got girls dressing and acting like hoes in the church.
We got to bring shame back to the church. That's right.
Yep.
You got to bring shame back to the church, or else what's going to happen? Where'd it go?
Shame.
That's right.
Shame.
RPAP says, wait, pastors have actually preached for hot girl summer?
Yep.
Look it up, man. I'm telling you, man, dude, churches are out of control, man. Churches are out of control. So when you hear a woman say that she puts God first,
She belongs to the streets.
Shame.
See, this dude right here says the church ain't going to do none of that if there's no money involved. Well, see, that's the problem. That's why they're stuck. You trying to get increasing money from a decreasing membership.
there it is.
They're trying to get increasing money from women. That's why you got pastors that are threatened by the rise of platforms like this.
There
because
it is. Namely, Creflo Dollar. Creflo Dollar came after Kevin Samuels, man. Called him the Antichrist and end times and this and that. What, for holding women accountable? No. The reason why Creflo came after Kevin Samuels is because Kevin Samuels is bad for business. Yes, the hell. Listen, if I'm a Creflo Dollar, I come after Kevin too. I'm like, whoa, hold up, Kevin. Whoa, hey, ho. You fucking with my money, bruh. You fucking with my money.
We're the end of the day. It's not ending your bottom line.
Oh, okay, literally. Okay, there it is.
And I'm telling you, how you can end up increasing your bottom line is by bringing men back into the church.
Yes, sir.
You know what? I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Yo, baby, yo. You can be a Kappa, but if you're not financial, it doesn't help the fraternity. So every organization has something that they call reclamation, where they try to reclaim members.
Yes.
To get people back to being active dues paying members participating. The church needs a reclamation of men.
You guys remember Revival? You guys remember that? For those of you who are not religiously inclined, Revival is a week-long church service. Every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. They bring in some guest preacher supposed to reawaken the spirit, reaffirm your faith, revive the Holy Spirit in your life. Right. I'll never forget this. We're in Altus, Oklahoma. It's maybe Tuesday night, Wednesday night revival. And Keith Wigginton, who was the then, I don't know, he might still be the pastor at, well, I don't know, he was an old guy, so he might not be with us anymore. Right. He might not be with us anymore. But I'll never forget. He says, I'm ashamed of this congregation. He says, this is the least amount of love offering that we have collected all week. I'll never forget this. I said, wait a minute. I'm what? Jesus, 16 years old? And I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? Let me quickly go over some of these super chats. We'll get back to the video here. Sweaty Boy, welcome to oh boy, hang on. Sweaty Boy, welcome to Chat Privileges. At Sweaty Boy to welcome him to the TSR family. Sweaty Boy, age and location in the chat. Age and location in the chat. I'd appreciate that. Guys, please like, subscribe, and share. When you subscribe, hit the bell, then click all. Like so on the screen. When you do this, you get notified every time I go live. Every single time I go live. So click the subscribe button, move over to the bell, click the bell, then click all, and you'll never miss another TSR live again. Teddy KGB, welcome to Chat Privileges. At Teddy KGB to welcome him to the family. Kelly West, welcome to Chat Privileges. At Kelly West to welcome him to Chat Privileges. Teddy and Kelly, age and location in the chat, in case any of us happen to be in your neck of the woods. Stop by and grab a beer or 19. Lord Sinister says, I just find it funny that it suddenly became stepdaddy season after a hot girl summer. Yeah, it's interesting. Stepdaddy season, they call it stepdaddy season now. We still, in this community, we call it cuffing season. That's what we call it. Jameson James Corey Campbell Esquire, 2.79 Canadian dollars, says, preach brother TLA, and that's, oh! TLA is in the house. The lead attorney is in the house. Is that really him? Is that really you? Okay, well, if it's you, man, appreciate the support. Appreciate the support very, very much. Wait a minute. He donated exactly the same amount as the fake Myron Gaines did, so I'm not sure. All right. To be continued. To be continued. Let's continue.
And with reclamation comes revenue.
Yes, sir.
But with revenue for men comes responsibility. You're going to have to share books and open. You're going to have to share power and actually let men see what's going on. Because
See, I don't know. Oh, Kevin, watch out now. Watch out now, Kevin. Watch out. Opening the books and letting the men see what's really going on. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. The preachers, like, pastors ain't trying to do that. They ain't trying to do that, Kev.
Because you can't keep telling men to keep throwing money into the building fund and we don't see no building. That's just not how it's going to work. But here's the other side. If you don't do this, eventually you're going to lose the women anyway because they're in church to find a husband.
That's right.
That's why they're in church.
Real talk.
The women in church to find a husband. I don't know who told you. These women in church to find a husband.
That's right.
And they're looking around and Boaz ain't there for Ruth.
Oops. No, he didn't.
That's one of the first places you used to tell people to go to church to find a husband. You can't find a husband for the men that ain't there. All you see in church right now is women and children.
Ooh.
And baby boomers and late generation X.
Yes. Women, children, and old people. That's it. Gentlemen, that's untenable. That is not sustainable. Women, children, and baby boomers? What? No, That is not a way to sustain a business.
Nope.
Can't do it. You cannot do it. It makes absolutely 0 sense.
Married couples. You don't see young Mario. When's the last time your church on Saturday was booked because of a wedding?
Ooh.
When was the last time you saw your church on Saturday booked because of a wedding of a parishioner that you know?
I'll wait. Yeah, ain't nobody getting married. That's the overarching point.
Less prosperity, more accountability. You got to bring back sin and shame.
That's right.
Sin and shame. Because things are out of control according to men. Men are tired of looking at women who are walking around who are looking just like the world in church. Then why go? Why do men need to go to church if they can see what they can see in the nightclub and at the strip club?
Oh, in the strip club. No, he didn't.
Ski, yo, what's going on?
He's got one more point to make here.
Dude said, last time I went to church, they checked me for a wedding band and sat me between all single women. See, that's the problem. And see, the thing is, I was in a church one day, and it was about
Listen to this shit. This is the mic drop.
4,000 to 6,000 people in the 10 o'clock service. Pastor said, all the single men stand up. Single unmarried men stand up. About 50 of us stood up. He said all the single unmarried women stood up. About 500 of them stood up.
Oops. You see that? You got 50 single men, single unmarried men, 5,000 in the congregation, 5,000 in the congregation, 50 single men, about 500 single women. Well, there you go. There you go.
He said, ladies, there they are. But the problem is, one, men understand as a single man, you are being looked at as a potential husband. But the problem is, the churches don't support it.
That's it.
There is little to no money in singles ministries. No one over the singles ministry. Try to run a singles ministry in church and try to get some resources or some funds or some allocation. They won't do it. They'll tell you, most churches will tell you do it out of your own pocket. So let me get this right. You got all these tithes and offerings. You want me to build a singles ministry out of my own pocket. Then you want to have oversight on it. You out your French toast mind. What the French toast?
You see how much sense that makes? That's why there aren't singles ministries anymore in the church. He just broke it down like that. Listen to him. Listen to this again. Listen.
Went over the singles ministry, try to run a singles ministry in church and try to get some resources or some funds or some allocation. They won't do it. They'll tell you, most churches will tell you do it out of your own pocket. So let me get this right. You got all these tithes and offerings. You want me to build a singles ministry out of my own pocket. Then you want to have oversight on it. You out your French toast mind.
Really, nigga?
And this in large part is why the church is losing men. Andrew Stringfield on the YouTube site says, sounds like fertile hunting grounds for pumping and dumping single moms.
Yep.
Oh, yes. You better believe it. George Makris with the $5 super chat says, Pastor James David Manning ripped Creflo a new one years ago. He had Creflo kind of sounds like cash flow dollar. Shout out to Pastor Manning, real OG. All right, so now let's take a look at the one interview of note. The one interview of note.
Hell no. Because see, you can't.
The one interview of note, and I want to draw a parallel. I want to draw a very familiar parallel. Give me 2 seconds here. So I want you to listen to this interview and see what happens.
I got it.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. What's
Good.
going on, Mr. Samuels, Godfather? What's going on?
Not much. What do you got for me on the topic?
Let's do it.
I think the problem with the church, especially like the Christian church, is that where's the results? We see a lot of hypocrites.
Okay.
Okay, so he says, where's the results? We see a lot of hypocrites. And it makes it, I mean, obviously, listen, he makes a good point. Where are the results? Well, clearly the results are nowhere to be found. Obviously.
What does that mean?
Well, we see hypocrites, meaning like a lot of the people that actually go to the church are not actually practicing what, the church preaches.
No.
Okay. Such as,
Okay, to me, listen, I'm not trying to crack on the brother, but like to me that's kind of being Captain Obvious, right? Like we all know. Come on, like we all know that the church is filled with hypocrites. Like we know that. Every church is filled with hypocrites. And that's across all religions and denominations. It is what it is.
you have an example of what you're talking about?
People, it seems like the church is a place to run to when you need to repent for a sin.
Okay.
And so, like, most people that I know, like, the church is not the place to find, like, the holiest woman or the woman that's, like, the best suited for marriage.
Well,
Okay, again, he's right. He's right. The church isn't the best place to find the holiest of women suitable for marriage. All right. So,
how does the church so if that's the case, then how does the church go about reclaiming men?
I think they need to have good leadership where the men feel like people are being honest, that these are actually valuable people. Maybe qualifying people to go to church. I know church wants to welcome everybody, but it seems like.
How old are you, by the way?
The actual 33.
Would you be willing to take on a leadership role in the church that was reclaiming men?
I would, if I felt like it would work. I would.
oh, he qualified it. I would if I feel like it works. So, what would have to happen for you to feel like it works? Right? So, the answer is no. This is what he just should have said. Listen, the answer is no. I would if I feel like it works. No, he just told you that he's not going to do anything about it.
What do you mean if you felt like it would work?
Well, I think it all depends on the woman's behavior in order to work.
Well, I mean, what I'm doing is I'm granting the argument, okay? I'm granting the argument that we understand the structural problems with the church today. But I'm telling you something I often hear. I often hear us being able to say that's the problem, but then somebody else needs to fix it.
There we go. There we go. how this marries in with this men-centric community is that a lot of outsiders like to throw around, well, there's a lot of those RP guys are hypocrites, right? They don't practice what they preach. This was the book. This was the supposed book on me. Early on in my YouTube days. He doesn't practice what he preaches. This Devin chick, she doesn't exist. Devin doesn't exist. She's a figment of his imagination. And I remember Alan Roger Curry and I had a little bit of a dust up. It was no big deal. We squashed it like men are supposed to. But I remember reading in his comments, all these people are like, dude, Donovan Sharpe he's a fake, he's a fraud. He is not who he says he is. He's not who he says he is. So what I started doing is I started posting booty pics of Dev. Now I'm not going to show them here because I know people are watching. They are itching to report my channel, right? So I said, okay, all right. I got a fake girlfriend, huh? Okay, all right. So I started posting booty pics of Dev. You guys can go to my Facebook to see all of that. Well, that didn't make him happy at all. She's got to be a whore. She's with you until she sees a bigger bank account. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So even when I started posting pictures of my girlfriend's ass, they still didn't outwardly say, okay, all right, cool, she exists. They're still, dude, Dev told me that there was somebody in my comments a couple of days ago says, Devin doesn't exist. I'm like, dude, come on. Okay, so then of course I was, Dev and I were doxxed by Anthony Johnson. He used quite possibly the worst picture that has ever been taken of Devin ever, and started calling her Miss Piggy and this and that, and I was like, oh God, come on. Ay. So I said, all right, I gotta fire back. So that's what I did. There it is. So I said, all right. Donovan isn't who he says he is, huh? Dev is ugly. Dev is fat, huh? Well, here you go. This is what Dev does. She works out, she cooks, she cleans, etc., etc. Yeah. Even still. Oh, here we go. Here we are. Ha ha ha! Your wife Cynthia is getting dragged by the white boys you bootlick, and you're quiet. Interesting. Here we go. All waist high pics. Not a single full body bikini pics. There's a reason. Okay, no problem. I said, all right, listen. And I keep appeasing these idiots because you keep sharp angling them, and eventually they're going to run out of things to say. And at some point they eventually just start calling you poo-poo head. Well, you're a poo-poo head. You're this, you're that. And by the way, I'm not staying quiet about these white boys. The president is going down in flames, guys, and it's going to be fucking spectacular. So this is me and Dev outside of Paris, Las Vegas. Pretty good picture of her. All right. Then, of course, I had a little bit of fun a little bit later. Then we had the cabana photo shoot. Devin's fat. Devin's ugly. Blah, 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 blah. So I decided to, oh, by the way, of course, I got all the haters. Devin doesn't really wear heels all the time. She doesn't really do this and that and the third. Yeah, actually, she kind of does. This is her making me chicken parmesan. Looking good. Devin has awesome legs. Awesome legs. She has awesome legs. She has a great ass. Oh, here she is here. Again, fantastic legs. All right. Oh, there she is again, working on my website. Ah, yes, the cabana shoot. So then I said, all right, time to dunk on these idiots, right? I mean, there is literally nothing to say. Nothing to say. Oh, wait a minute. She looks so old. Plus, do the Photoshop in the arms, too, because her arms look like Madonna's. Nope, no Photoshop. No Photoshop. Black woman says, she's got a long way to go, dude, and you need to get her a boob job. Oh, wow, I clapped back. I said, yes, and she's getting one on October 28th. Yep. So even when you prove that you're not this quote-unquote hypocrite, Donovan is scamming people, Donovan is taking their money, blah, 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 blah. The CME happened, right? There's me and Geeky Anomaly. I have that poster on the wall. There's me and your boy, Kevin Samuels. There's us again, having a little bit of fun. The point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that, and I'm not trying to shit on this guy. I'm really not. I'm really not. But when you talk about, oh, there's hypocrites here and this needs to happen, then this guy is basically the church. He's the Christian version of, dare I say, a black pill guy. He recognizes that there is a problem. He does. He recognizes that there is a problem in the church. But instead of talking about solutions, he wants somebody else to do it. As Devin in the chat says, all muscle, no Photoshop. No, there was no Photoshop in that. Whatever. I mean, dude, people can say whatever they want. It is what it is.
Well, no. We can identify the problem. Are you willing to step in and do your part?
You can tell by his body language the answer is no. Listen, man, this is a free country. You can talk about and say whatever it is you want to say. But no one is going to take you seriously if all you do is bitch and moan about the problem and don't offer solutions. See, this is what separates guys like myself and Kevin. Yes, we talk about the problems. We talk about the issues. This is necessary, but we also give you solutions. I have thousands of videos on YouTube, thousands of videos everywhere, Patreon. I've got courses how to master the game, how to build a quality woman from the ground up, Womanese 101, all that stuff. This is a guy, and again, there's nothing wrong with him doing what he's doing. But it's easy to call somebody a hypocrite. Well, what are you going to do about it?
So it can be fixed.
I mean, I already got my purpose. You know, my purpose is not devoted to actually fixing the church. That's not like...
Okay, so why comment on it? My purpose is not fixing the church, yet you felt the need to call into Kevin Samuel's show to talk about the depravity of the church. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
you know what I spend my life up to.
But do you see the paradox? The paradox is...
I mean, I could... Yeah.
So the paradox... So hold on. The paradox is, yes, there are problems. They're hypocrites. Mm-hmm. We're all hypocrites. We're all flawed. We're all fallen. There's no perfect people.
Definite G says, most black people always want other people to solve their problems. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, but I know a lot of them do.
People. And in the black community or any community, you're going to start with what you have. But see, one thing that I do have an issue with is Just like we have women who will sit back and say the problem of men,
Yep.
but they're not willing to do any work on themselves.
There it is.
We also have men that are willing to say the problem is over there.
There you go.
And then when you ask them, oh, what are you prepared to do? Oh, I ain't got nothing to do with it.
There it is. There it is. And again, no hate on the brother. You know what I mean? Like, I understand where he's coming from, but if you're going to complain about it, you better be prepared. If you're going to complain about it out loud, you better be prepared to offer a solution. RPAP says, no offense to Devin, but if you are going to pay an escort or even a model to take pics of and parade around that you are really living this life, wouldn't you have paid for a 20-something model with 15 pounds of silicone? Yeah, I mean, now here's the thing. If I were to do that, if I were to pay a model to pretend to be my girlfriend, that's fraudulent. That is fraudulent. And listen, there are plenty of content creators out here who they live a false life. Everything they put on social media, it's a paid actress or a paid model. Yeah, I use paid models for my courses, but my girl is my girl, you know? She is who she is. She's not perfect. No one ever claimed that she was. I've never claimed that she was a 10, right? Yeah, Dev said it perfectly. Can't have it all, man. Sacrifice looks for utility. We never claimed I was pretty. Devin is pretty enough. Devin's pretty enough, right? I'll put it to you this way. Dev's an adjustable 6. She's a 6.5 when she's naked in heels. She's a 7 when she's on her knees. She's a 7.5 when she's, sucking my dick. She's an 8 if she looks like if she's pretending that she likes it. An 8.5 if she swallows. This is how it goes. I mean, listen, naked in heels, big, soon-to-be fake tits, yeah. I'll give you an 8.5 for about 36 seconds. But all jokes aside, listen, that's a fair question, RPAP. Fair question. And there are a lot of guys who do that, but I'm not, I've never, if I would be afraid to get caught. Dude, what if they find out that this girl that I'm parading around, what if they find out she's not my girlfriend? Then I'm done. I'm finished. Slapduck says, dude, we admire you guys because you do put yourself out there. Yeah. I mean, I'm as transparent as they come, man. And dude, at this point, I'm fearless. I'm fearless. I'm not there is nothing, there is nothing anybody doesn't know about me. It is, and don't get me wrong, as frustrating as it was to go through all that doxing with Anthony Johnson, I mean, I really should shake the man's hand because he freed me. There is nothing, I mean, dude, unless some chick comes forward saying that I knocked her up in Vegas, at that point, all right, guess I got to deal with that. But there is literally nothing else about my life that nobody doesn't know. Everything is out there. All of it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I'm not in anyone's pocket. I'm not beholden to anyone, And that's why I don't pay people to pretend to be certain things to me. I mean, listen, seriously, why pay for a 20-something model when I can keep a 45-year-old locked up in a cage? Seems pretty cost effective to me.
And why are you in the conversation?
There it is.
I'm a God-fearing man. I believe in the church, and I
Okay,
believe
so
in
they're no perfect people.
Listen.
And in the black community or any community, you're going to start with what you have.
Right.
But see, one thing that I do have an issue with is just like we have women who will sit back and say the problem of men, but they're not willing to do any work on themselves. We also have men that are willing to say the problem is over there. And then when you ask them, oh, what are you prepared to do? Oh, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Well, then why are you in the conversation?
There you go. Right.
I'm a God-fearing man. I believe in the church, and I
Okay,
believe that the church has
faith
value.
without. Okay, so if God-fearing man, good. But if
Well, listen, he's a God-fearing man, but what good is that doing the church?
we're supposed to get anywhere as God-fearing men, faith without works is dead. Where's our work being?
I think the guy is really listening to Kevin. I think it really is. I think he's realizing, you know what? Maybe Kevin's right. Maybe I either need to stop talking shit or I need to contribute. Because if you look at his face, it appears it appears that he is kind of coming to this realization. No,
done.
I mean, do you think the work needs to be done in the church?
I'm asking you. I'm asking you, where are you doing the work of the church?
Well, I'm doing the work in my own behavior, how I carry myself.
Okay.
no, that's not work. That's just living your life. That's living your life. That's all. That's all. Street Fighter 88 says you haven't made it until you've been doxxed. Yeah, right.
But the gospel is to be spread the good news. See, and the reason I'm pushing back is when you come in and saying about hypocrisy, I want you to understand how easy it is to be a hypocrite.
Uh-oh.
Right. But I think I don't think it's so much about being a hypocrite. It's like you are who you associate yourself with. So
But that doesn't have anything to do with helping the church.
if I associate myself with a bunch of sinners and I go to the church, it's like
Everybody does. We all associate ourselves with sinners. People who associate with me would tell you that they associate themselves with sinners. I'm a sinner. According to the Bible, I'm a sinner. I'm having sex with a woman I am not married to. I am committing fornication each and every day. Well, not every day, but you get the point. Enough to qualify it as a sin. No, none of that matters. What matters is you identify the problem. What are you going to do about it?
what am I really going to get out of it?
What am I really going to get out of it? Well, that's just it, man. Like, you can't, like, when you're talking about you're a God-fearing man and you want to see the church do better, you can't ask, what am I going to get out of it? It's not supposed to be, what do I get out of it? Look. I understand his thinking, but you can't talk about the problems of the church, not do anything about it unless you get something out of it. That seems fairly counterproductive, does it not? Right?
It's not about what you get out, but it's about what you do for it. See,
Yeah, right.
What I'm still hearing is a selfish spirit. I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong. But then, what are you willing to do to correct anything, or is it just sit in judgment of what's wrong
And he's young. He's only 33, so.
and worry about yourself?
I think the best thing I could do is control my controllables, which is
No, now this is jibber jabber. Control the best thing I can do is control my controllable. Translation, nothing. That's it.
my behavior, how I interact with people.
So worry about yourself.
That's it.
What do you want to know?
So worry about yourself.
I think that's where it starts. I think our greatest accountability is with ourselves.
All right.
Yeah. So again, nothing.
Then what about? Is there anything about life that's outside of you?
Well,
and I'm challenging you because you said you're a God-fearing man. If you said you weren't a believer, then we wouldn't have this conversation. But
I'm a believer, but is it just a Christian church for black people, or is it the Jewish?
Really? So now we're gonna muddy the waters with other denominations. Come on, man. Come on.
I don't know what God you said you believe in. You said God. What God do you believe in?
Well, I believe that we were created. We're obviously designed. We're not just here. I think I don't believe in the Big Bang Theory, like we all just randomly here.
He's bringing other stuff in.
Do you have any? So, as a God-fearing man, is there a religious system that you adhere to, like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddha?
Well, I grew up Coptic Christian, which is Ethiopian Orthodox from
so
Trinidad.
do we have any responsibility to other people of
There
our
you
faith?
go. And see, that's the main. And again, this is the main thing about religion. Is being of service to others. Dude, this community is about being of service to others. Like, I feel an inherent responsibility to be of service to other men. Tell my story so men can learn from my fuck-ups and mistakes.
Come on, man.
I think holding them accountable, sure.
Holding them accountable, but you also have to offer solutions. You can't say bitches ain't shit. Well, then what do we do to not be shit? Well, hell, that's on y'all. No. Holding people accountable is easy. Holding people accountable, just all that requires you to do is tell people what they're doing wrong. That's easy. That's the easy part.
Holding ourselves accountable, holding others.
So we have no
accountable.
responsibility to anybody. So just us and God, and just take care of ourselves. We don't really worry about anything else.
I mean, Give me an example. What else can I?
What I mean is, you
outside of
came in
my
talking
control?
about hypocrisy, and I'm seeing the hypocrisy in what you're saying. I'm
Uh-oh.
not doubting. See, we don't get anywhere with men who say these kind of things, or people who say these things can point the finger and say that's the problem. Okay, granted, there's the problem. It needs to be fixed. But if
Dre Raven says, Big Bang Theory says, leave Sheldon and those goofballs out of this.
we are the God-fearing Christian or God-fearing men, we have something outside of our selfish lives to.
Lord Sinister says, all have sinned, come short of the glory of God. That would be Romans 3:23. Doesn't Romans 6:23 says, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord? Dude, I've memorized a zillion verses, man. And you guys know I have my memory is just otherworldly. I want every Brickman Mac, $2 says, Nino Brown is out of this damn. He does look like Nino Brown, doesn't he? Oh, that's funny as hell. Nino Brown. Yo, real talk. This dude does look like Nino, doesn't he?
Do something.
I'm mad at you.
And this is one of the problems I see in the
Definite G says he's just parroting. Yeah, that's really all he's doing.
Black community. Money making is a social activity. Success is shared.
Yep.
Too many of us are just worried about taking care of our own stuff while pointing at the problem in the other stuff. We're the only group that act like we have no responsibility to each other except ourselves.
That's right. And Jewish people don't feel that way. Asian people don't feel that way. Hindus don't feel that way. Right? Other communities and religions all are, they want to be of service to each other. The reason why the Jewish community is so strong is because they stick together. Right? And listen, man, there's infighting in the Jewish community, but guess what? When an outsider comes after one of them, they close their ranks and they're like, no, sir.
And this is God-fearing people.
I mean, do you want me knocking on doors and preaching the word?
I want you.
Oh, now see, here he goes. So now he's being disingenuously sarcastic. Do you want me knocking on? No, nobody asked you to knock on doors, man. So it's basically either knock on doors and be a Jehovah's Witness, or just not give a shit. Come on, man.
I want you to do some work, and I want you to do some work so you won't be the hypocrite you were talking about.
Oh,
that's all.
I agree.
Street Fighter 88 says he looks like Antonio Brown, too. Again, man, like, no shade on that guy, man. Like, he means well, but like a lot of men in this community, all they do is complain and don't offer solutions. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not of use to anybody. That's really what it comes down to. Brickman Mac, welcome to Chat Privileges. At Brickman Mac to welcome him to the TSR family. Appreciate that very much. If you would be Mac, put your age and location in the chat in case one of us happens to be in your neck of the woods. Stop by and have a beer or 30. No, not 30. Don't drink and drive. All right, so coming up next, I'm going to continue my breakdown, my F-Boy Island breakdown. Oh, by the way, actually, I'm going to do a bit of bragging here. And so yesterday I successfully pulled off.
You got everything all set.
Successfully pulled off a 425 pound deadlift, and I'm going to show that right now. Give me 2 seconds. So 425 pounds. 425 pounds. That is the heaviest. That's the most I've deadlifted since I was 37 years old. My deadlift high My 1 rep max on the deadlift is 550 pounds. Hang on a second. Okay, so my 1 rep max on the deadlift is 550 pounds. And I did that back when I was 37 years of age. And so it's been a while. It's been a while since I've even been to 400. So a few weeks back, I did 400. Then I took it all the way to 420. I was going to do 430, but Myron said, you got to slow that down. Slow it down a bit. Slow it down a little bit. Slow it down a little bit. And go 425. Go up by 5. So this is me. This is me. And, just so you guys know and understand, 3 plates on each side plus a 25-pounder. The red plates are 55 pounds. Those are Papa Babe super duper high quality urethane weights. Love those things. They were expensive, but worth it. I'll have these weights forever. I'll have these weights until I kick the bucket. I'll probably have to will them to my brothers or something. I don't know, will them to Olivia or something. I don't know. But 3 55-pound plates on each side. That's 165 pounds on each side. 165 times 2 is 330. 330 plus 45 is 375. 375 plus 50, 425. So this is me attempting a 425-pound deadlift. And it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. A lot of people, and you guys are you guys encourage me very, very much. You guys really do encourage me. And everyone's like, man, that looked like easy money. And I'm like, you know what? Just because it looks easy does not mean it was. But it's actually pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool that I'm progressing. And my goal is to deadlift 500 pounds by the end of the year. So let's listen in. Hang on a second. So let's listen in as Donovan Sharpe attempts 425-pound deadlift. Let's listen in. Donovan stretches. He does his customary twist. He's getting into the right mind beast mode, as he describes it. Looks like he's going to use the alternating grip. He's getting set. He usually likes to squat a few times before he actually pulls it off, just to sort of get the concentration. Let's see how he does. Unbelievable. He looked like he absolutely did it very easily with the customary woo.
425, baby.
Let's watch the replay. All right. 425. 425, foe that ass. Brickman Max says, congratulations on the enormity of your success. Been around since the original Redman group. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. There's something. Oh, somebody else said he looks like Antonio Brown. Yeah. He kind of does, doesn't he? He kind of does, doesn't he? Sweaty Boy, I like to use the alternating grip. My left hand is my dominant hand, so that's the one going overhand. The overhand position. My right hand is my non-dominant hand. That's in the supinated position. I learned that from Alan Thrall. But no, I don't have any back pain, no back problems, nothing. I have good genetics. I really, really do, dude. I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2". I'm still around 225 pounds. But I'm a big guy. But even for a guy my size, I'm incredibly strong. Like when I've done damage with my fists. Serious damage with my fists, which is why. Anyway, but next Sunday, or this coming Sunday, actually, I will attempt a 430-pound deadlift. 430-pound deadlift, and hopefully we can take that all the way to 500. Be sure to download the Sharpe Stream app if you want to. Be sure to download the Sharpe Stream app if you want to watch the breakdown, the F-Boy Island breakdown. I thought it's actually impressed me. It's actually impressed me. Shout out to Chris Ricard. New member of chat privileges. He says, good technique. Appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. I'm old, so I have to use good technique. Go to sharpestream.com to download the SharpeStream mobile app where you can watch my dating show breakdowns absolutely free live. If you want chat privileges, become a member of SharpeStream or a patron at patreon.com/Donovan Sharpe. That's going to do it for this, the 782nd edition of TSR Live with Donovan Sharpe. My thanks to all of my super chatters and my new channel members. Thank you for support. We'll see you next show. Get thousands of hours of content not found anywhere on patreon.com/Donovan Sharpe. Link in description.